Hey everyone, this week we are reading Unfurths Challenge, which is a follow-up to the two stories that we read last week, Grendel and the Coming of Beowulf. So in Unfurths Challenge, Beowulf is now at King Hrothgar's mead hall. He's showed up, he's bragged about everything he's going to do to help defeat the monster, Grendel. So Unfurth's Challenge is about this guy named Unferth who works for the king that is extremely jealous of Beowulf. He's trying to make Beowulf look bad in front of the king and in front of all of the other men. So this is the story of basically how he's trying to do that and how Beowulf reacts. So here at the top, we'll start. Unferth spoke, Eglaf's son, who sat at Hrothgar's feet, spoke harshly and sharp, vexed by Beowulf's adventure, by their visitor's courage, and angry that anyone in Denmark or anyone on earth had ever acquired glory and fame greater than his own. So vexed means annoyed or angry. So it's basically saying that Unferth is annoyed by Beowulf's adventure and pretty much angry and jealous that Beowulf is more famous than him and has gotten more glory and is more well known than he is. So this is Unferth speaking here in these quotes. So Unferth starts calling out Beowulf. So he says, "You're Beowulf, are you? The same boastful fool who fought a swimming match with Brecca? Both of you daring and young and proud, exploring the deepest seas, risking your lives for no reason but the danger. All older and wiser heads warned you not to, but no one could check such pride. With Brecca at your side, you swim along the sea paths, your swift-moving hands pulling you over the ocean's face. Then, winter churned through the water, the waves ran you as they willed, and you struggled 7 long nights to survive. And in the end, victory was his, not yours. The sea carried him close to his home, to southern Norway, near the land of the Brondings, where he ruled and was loved, where his treasure was piled and his strength protected his towns and his people. He'd promised to outswim you. Bonston's son made that boast ring true." Okay, so what happens here is Unferth's like, okay, so you're Beowulf. I think I've heard of you. Are you the same Beowulf that got into a swimming match with Brecca? And not only did you get in a swimming match after all of these people told you not to, but you lost. So he's calling Beowulf out for losing this swimming match. And also, it's revealed that this swimming match lasted 7 long nights. So that's not like they were sleeping or napping during the day and only slept at night. This is a 7-day long swimming match. So for an entire week, they swam. So this is like part of what we were talking about, the things that make heroes epic heroes. Beowulf swimming for 7 days, even if he lost the swimming match, that's still like a superhuman feat. So, just another example of that here in this story. So we'll continue here. You've been lucky in your battles, Beowulf, but I think your luck may change if you challenge Grendel, staying a whole night through in this hall, waiting where that fiercest of demons can find you. Beowulf answered, Edgethow's great son, "Ah, Unferth, my friend, your face is hot with ale, and your tongue has tried to tell us about Brecca's doings. But the truth is simple. No man swims in the sea as I can. No strength is a match for mine. As boys, Brecca and I had boasted, we were both too young to know better, that we'd risk our lives far out at sea. And so we did." So Beowulf's response to Unferth saying that, number one, your face is hot with ale, basically means you're drunk and you don't know what you're talking about. So Beowulf's trying to make Unferth seem unreliable by saying that he's drunk and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then Beowulf also says that no one is as strong as I am, that we were young and we made a mistake, but regardless, even if you beat me, no one's as strong as I am. So Beowulf's, accidentally enlarged that. Beowulf's story continues here. So he says, each of us carried a naked sword, prepared for whales or the swift, sharp teeth and beaks of needlefish. He could never leave me behind, swim faster across the waves than I could, and I had chosen to remain close to his side. I remained near him for 5 long nights, until a flood swept us apart. The frozen sea surged around me, it grew dark, the wind turned bitter, blowing from the north, and the waves were savage. Creatures who sleep deep in the sea were stirred into life, and the iron-hammered links of my mail shirt, these shining bits of metal woven across my breast, saved me from death. A monster seized me, drew me swiftly toward the bottom, swimming with its claws tight in my flesh, but fate let me find its heart with my sword, hack myself free. I fought that beast's last battle, left it floating lifeless in the sea. Other monsters crowded around me, continually attacking. I treated them politely, offering the edge of my razor-sharp sword, but the feast, I think, did not please them, filled their evil bellies with no banquet-rich food, thrashing there at the bottom of the sea. By morning, they decided to sleep on the shore, laying on their backs, their blood spilled out on the sand. Afterwards, sailors could cross that sea road and feel no fear. Nothing would stop their passing. Then God's bright beacon appeared in the east. The water lay still, and at last I could see land, wind-swept cliff walls at the edge of the coast. Okay, so Beowulf says for 5 days, Brecca and I were swimming neck and neck. We were right beside each other. I could have passed him, but I stayed back with him, so we were swimming together. But this huge wave came, we were separated, a monster drug him down to the bottom of the ocean. He had to fight and kill this monster. Then 9 other monsters showed up. He killed all those monsters. So at the end, he ended up killing every monster in the sea. He says now the sea is safe for sailors to pass through. So I think one of your questions is, what does Beowulf say held him up and what did he have to do? All of these monsters, they start attacking him and he says that he has to kill them all. So while Brecca is just swimming on, Beowulf is back defeating these monsters and making the sea safe for future sailors. So the story continues here at line 305. Fate saves the living when they drive away death by themselves. Lucky or not, 9 was the number of huge sea monsters I killed. What man anywhere under heaven's high arch has fought in such darkness, endured more misery, or been harder pressed? Yet I survived the sea, smashed the monster's hot jaws, swam home from my journey. The swift flowing waters swept me along, and I landed on finished soil. I've heard no tales of you, Unfurth, telling of such clashing terrors, such contests in the night. Brecca's battles were never so bold, neither he nor you can match me, and I mean no boast, have announced no more than I know to be true. And there's more. You murdered your brothers, your own close kin. Words and bright wit won't help your soul. You'll suffer hell's fires, Unfurth, forever tormented. So Beowulf goes, he's at this mead hall. Unfurth is trying to embarrass him. Oh, I heard you did this swimming match and you lost. And Beowulf's like, yeah, I did lose, but here's why, because I battled all these sea monsters. He's like, also, you don't really know what you're talking about because you're drunk right now. And also, he calls out Unfurth. He says, I heard something about you. The only thing I know about you is that you murdered your brothers. So he calls him out for killing his own 2 brothers. So the story continues on line 323. So here at the end, at Glaf's proud son, if your hands were as hard, your heart as fierce as you think it, no fool would dare to raid your hall, ruin Heorot, and oppress its prince as Grendel has done. But he's learned that terror is his alone, discovered he can comfort your people with no fear of reprisal. He's found no fighting here, only food, only delight. He murders as he likes with no mercy, gorges and feasts on your flesh and expects no trouble, no quarrel from the quiet Danes. Now the Geats will show him courage. Soon he can test his strength in battle. And when the sun comes up again, opening another bright day from the south, anyone in Denmark may enter this hall. That evil will be gone. So Beowulf's saying, if you were as great as you think you are, then you would have killed this monster already. But you haven't killed the monster. That's why I'm here, to kill the monster that you haven't been able to kill. So basically, this is your fault that you are not as great as you think you are. So Unfurth went into this argument thinking that he was going to call Beowulf out and embarrass him. And really the whole thing kind of got flipped on him. And now he's the one who is looking bad. He really doesn't even respond to what Beowulf's saying. We don't hear anything else from Unfurth in this section. On line 340, it continues here saying, Hrothgar, gray-haired and brave, so remember that's the king, said happily listening, the famous ring giver sure at last that Grendel could be killed. He believed in Beowulf's bold strength and the firmness of his spirit. So yes, he does believe that Beowulf is going to be able to kill the monster. So there was the sound of laughter and the cheerful clanking of cups and pleasant words. Then Wealhtheow, Hrothgar's gold-ringed queen, greeted the warriors. A noble woman who knew what was right, she raised a flowing cup to Hrothgar first, holding it high for the lord of the Danes to drink, wishing him joy in that feast. The famous king drank with pleasure and blessed their banquet. Then Wealhtheow went from warrior to warrior, pouring a portion from the jeweled cup for each, till the bracelet-wearing queen had carried the mead cup among them, and it was Beowulf's turn to be served. She saluted the Geats' great prince, thanked God for answering her prayers, for allowing her hands the happy duty of offering mead to a hero who would help her afflicted people. So she also believes that Beowulf is going to be able to kill Grendel. It says that Beowulf was the answer to her prayers. So Beowulf drank what she poured, Ecgtheow's brave son, then assured the Danish queen that his heart was firm and his hands ready. When we crossed the sea, my comrades and I already knew that all my purpose was this, to win the goodwill of your people or die in battle, pressed in Grendel's fierce grip. Let me live in greatness and courage, or here in this hall welcome my death. Wealtha was pleased with his words, his bright-tongued boast. She carried them back to her lord, walked nobly across to his side. The feast went on, laughter and music, and the brave words of warriors celebrating their delight. Then Hrothgar rose, Helfadine's son, heavy with sleep. As soon as the sun had gone, he knew that Grendel would come to hear it, would visit the hall when night had covered the earth with its net, and the shapes of darkness moved black and silent through the world. Hrothgar's warriors rose with him. He went to Beowulf, embraced the Geats' brave prince, wished him well, and hoped that Heorot would be his to command. And then he declared, "No one strange to this land has ever been granted what I've given you. No one in all the years of my rule. Make this the best of all mead halls yours, and then keep it free of evil. Fight with glory in your heart. Purge Heorot, and your ship will sail home with its treasure holds full." Meaning, if you are able to kill Grendel, I will give you as much treasure as your ship can hold. So basically, the king and queen both think that Beowulf's going to be able to defeat Grendel. And it seems like everyone's excited he's here. So the next part that we'll read next week is the actual fight. We'll get into the fight scene between Beowulf and Grendel and what happens that night when Grendel comes to Heorot.